two more questions and then we'll end this interview. The first one is, what view that you've defended are you most confident in?
Somebody told me you asked Richard Swinburne this. I think there are two views that I've defended in which I am the most confident. One is the dynamic or a theory of time, and the other is anti-realism about abstract objects.
Very interesting. So a theory, you're most confident about that.
Yes, I think that people who deny the reality of tense are almost out of their minds. I mean, this is something that is more evident to us than the existence of the external world, which is itself a tensed reality. But in addition to that, you have the tensed internal experience of the contents of consciousness. So I'm baffled that anybody could believe that reality is not tensed.
Is that your general argument in defense of a theory of time?
Yes, I think it's finally rooted in the presentness of experience, what D.H. Miller called the presence of experience. I think that is the bedrock upon which the tense theory of time is based. I cannot coherently deny the presentness of my experience of the present.
So it seems like you're working off an epistemological principle, something like phenomenal conservatism. I'm going to use some philosophical technical terminology here. So if it seems to you that the world is this way, then in the absence of defeaters, you've got some justification.
Well, I do think it would be a properly basic belief, yes, in that sense.
And then you have no defeaters.
Yes, and that there isn't any sort of conceivable defeater in this case, because any defeater that was brought would probably involve the reality of tense. So it's really hard to understand how this theory could be defeated.
So the last question that I have for you is, what view that you've defended are you least certain of?
Oh. Well, it would probably be one of the arguments for God's existence. Maybe, for example, the Leibnizian argument from contingency. This depends crucially on the premise that everything that exists has an explanation of its existence, either in the necessity of its own nature or in an external cause. And it's difficult to force someone to adopt that premise. It seems right to me, but I think that would probably be challengeable and one of the areas where I would say, it seems right to me, but if you want to deny it, okay.
That's interesting, because that's actually the argument that I'm most confident about.
Oh, interesting.
In defense of God.
Well, then maybe, what about the ontological argument? The first premise of the ontological argument, that it's possible that a maximally great being exists. Again, that seems right. I'm confident that that's true, but it's not the sort of thing you can force someone to adopt.
I think you almost can. There's two philosophers. There's Mike Almeida and Eugen Nagasawa. And these guys, they actually posted an article on my blog. Together, they wrote this article in defense of the ontological argument. They title it A Faultless Modal Ontological Argument. And they basically try to cohere the different properties and say, if there's some kind of incoherence among the divine properties, then you basically just go a step below. And you take out, say, instead of all-knowing or all-powerful, you just take it one step below that. And that being is therefore God, because no impossible being could be God.
Right, right.
And so, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think maybe I need to read these articles and shore up my sagging confidence.